Welcome back to another episode on The Voice Auto, where we take a deep dive into the stories, the designs, the performances, and the timeless appeal of cars that have shaped the way we look at automobiles. Today, we are going to explore a legend, an icon that needs no introduction, a car that transcends generations and cultures. I am talking about the 1965 Volkswagen Beetle, specifically in its classic and elegant white color. This isn't just a car, it's a piece of history that carries with it charm, character, and a legacy that continues to capture hearts even today. When you hear the word Beetle, you might immediately picture that rounded silhouette, the almost cartoonish yet lovable design, and the unmistakable sound of its air-cooled engine. But beyond its popularity and worldwide fame, the 1965 Volkswagen Beetle has so much more to tell us. This was a car designed with a mission: to bring affordable mobility to the masses, to provide reliability and efficiency in a compact and approachable package. In many ways, it was the people's car in the truest sense of the word. Let's begin by understanding what the Beetle really stood for in the mid-1960s. By 1965, Volkswagen had already established itself as a global powerhouse. The Beetle had been produced for more than 2 decades, and it had become the best-selling import in markets like the United States. The definition of the Beetle lies in its simplicity. It was built to be economical, easy to maintain, and durable enough to handle daily life. Unlike many flashy cars of the era that competed for attention with fins, chrome, and roaring V8 engines, the Beetle was humble, modest, and even a bit quirky. That humility became its biggest strength. The definition of the Beetle can be summed up in 3 words: reliable, approachable, and timeless. Now let's imagine that 1965 white Beetle sitting in front of us. The exterior design is instantly recognizable, and yet it feels fresh every time you look at it. That dome-shaped roofline, the curved fenders, the circular headlights, there's a playful personality built right into its body. In white, the car takes on a crisp, clean, almost angelic appearance. It emphasizes the curves, highlights the simplicity, and makes it look like a rolling piece of minimalist art. Unlike many cars that tried to appear aggressive or intimidating, the Beetle embraced friendliness. Its face, with those big round headlights, looks like it's smiling at you. In terms of proportions, the Beetle was compact but practical. The overall length was just over 13 feet, making it easy to maneuver and park even in busy city environments. Its rounded shape wasn't just for aesthetics, it gave the car excellent aerodynamics for its time, which contributed to better fuel efficiency. The thin chrome bumpers, the VW badge on the nose, and the simple hubcaps on its wheels all reinforced that less is more philosophy. There was no excess, no unnecessary ornamentation. Every detail was purposeful. When you stepped inside the 1965 Beetle, you immediately noticed the same simplicity carried through. The interior was designed to be functional, not luxurious. The dashboard was painted metal with a speedometer right in front of the driver. The steering wheel was large and thin, giving you a direct feel of the road. Upholstery came in basic materials, but it was durable. In that white exterior with a contrasting darker interior, the cabin felt cozy and inviting. You didn't sit in a Beetle expecting leather seats and high-end gadgets. You sat in it because it was honest transportation that put you in touch with the driving experience. One of the key features of the 1965 model year was the transition from the old 6-volt electrical system to a more modern 12-volt system. In later years, but in 1965, it still had 6 volts, which gave the car a unique character. The small details, like the pull knobs for the choke or the simple heater controls, reminded you of a time when cars were mechanical companions rather than computers on wheels. Another important update in 1965 was the larger side and rear windows compared to earlier models, which improved visibility and gave the cabin a more airy feeling. Let's talk about performance. Now, nobody bought a Beetle expecting blistering speed or raw horsepower. The 1965 Beetle came with a rear-mounted, air-cooled, flat-4 engine displacing 1200 cc. It produced around 40 horsepower, which might sound small by today's standards, but it was more than adequate for the lightweight body of the car. That engine was paired with a 4-speed manual transmission, and the driving experience was all about simplicity. You didn't rush, you cruised. The car had a top speed of around 70 miles per hour, but its true talent lay in its dependability. The air-cooled design meant no radiator and fewer things to go wrong. That made it a favorite in regions with harsh conditions, from deserts to snowy mountains. Another aspect of performance that stood out was handling. With the engine in the back and power going to the rear wheels, the Beetle had unique dynamics. It wasn't sporty like a Porsche, but it was steady and surprisingly good on rough roads. The suspension was built to absorb bumps, and the compact size allowed it to weave through tight spots with ease. People loved the Beetle because it didn't break down often, and when it did, repairs were simple and cheap. You could learn to work on it yourself with just basic tools. That accessibility became one of its greatest selling points. Fuel efficiency was another advantage. At a time when large American cars gulped gasoline, the Beetle delivered around 25 to 30 miles per gallon, making it a smart choice for everyday driving. This was one of the reasons it became so popular with students, young families, and budget-conscious drivers. Now, let's consider price. In 1965, the Volkswagen Beetle sold for around $1,600 to $1,700 in the United States, depending on the trim and options. That price put it well below many other cars on the market. It was an entry-level vehicle that didn't feel cheap. Instead, it felt like a sensible choice. You got reliability, durability, and charm, all for a price that almost anyone could manage. That affordability made it the second car in many households, the first car for many teenagers, and the only car for countless families. What truly set the Beetle apart, though, wasn't just its price or features. It was the emotional connection people built with it. This car had a soul. It wasn't intimidating, and it wasn't distant. It invited you in, like a friend. It had a personality that made people give it nicknames, decorate it, and keep it for decades. Advertisements at the time even leaned into this idea, with clever and witty campaigns that celebrated its small size, its quirks, and its honesty. The Beetle wasn't pretending to be something it wasn't. It was just itself, and that authenticity resonated with millions. When you think about the selling points of the 1965 Volkswagen Beetle, they all come together beautifully. Affordable price, excellent fuel economy, simplicity of maintenance, durability across all types of roads, and a design that turned heads without ever trying too hard. But beyond all the practical reasons, the biggest selling point was that it made people smile. Owning a Beetle wasn't just about getting from one place to another. It was about enjoying the journey, feeling connected to the car, and sharing in the story of a global icon. Even today, collectors and enthusiasts continue to seek out the 1965 Beetle, especially in colors like white that emphasize its classic look. Restored models fetch good prices at auctions, and the community around the Beetle remains strong. Car shows, club meets, and restoration projects keep the spirit alive. The value of a 1965 white Beetle today depends on its condition, originality, and history, but one thing is certain: it's more than just a car, it's an heirloom, a conversation starter, and a reminder of a time when simplicity ruled the road. As we look back, it's clear why the Beetle became one of the most successful cars of all time. It wasn't about horsepower wars or flashy features. It was about being reliable, affordable, and lovable. The 1965 model represents a golden era in its history, balancing classic charm with the gradual updates that kept it relevant. So, whether you are an enthusiast who admires its engineering, a casual fan who loves its design, or someone who just remembers family trips in one, the 1965 Volkswagen Beetle in white continues to be a symbol of joy, freedom, and timeless design. Few cars can claim such a lasting impact. That wraps up our deep dive into the 1965 Volkswagen Beetle in white. Thank you for joining me on this journey through history, design, features, performance, price, and the undeniable charm that made this car an icon. If you enjoyed this exploration and want more stories about cars that shape the world, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. This has been The Voice Auto, bringing you the sounds and stories of automotive legends.